Beginning, when we were mostly just a skincare company, we educated people on ingredients that they were putting on the body. Because most women use a lot of topical product, and they spend a lot of money on it. And they tend to think that if the product is more expensive, it's got to be better. And so I've been teaching women for 20 years, very specifically, that better doesn't mean necessarily, or more expensive doesn't mean better necessarily. It's about what's in the product. And what's in most of the product here in the United States, you guys, 98% of it should not go on your body. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. So because our mission at Arbonne has been for years about teaching people how to take better care of their bodies externally and learning about what externally you put on your body goes in your body, it made sense for us to progressively start carrying products that helped people with the inside as well. And we carry some nutritional products now, and all of you guys know about this product line, so I won't.
I've been drinking my facial cleanser now for 6 months, and it's really
off all the antidepressants.
I don't drink it.
Trish has been a client of mine for many, many years, obviously. So about 12 years ago, we had a woman who has been in our company forever, who by trade was a master librarian, and at a point in her life lost her third family member to breast cancer. And when that happened to her, she decided to start researching why this is so rampant in our country. And she found, obviously, lots of information, but she specifically found one doctor that she read all of his books, made total sense to her. She tracked him down and said, if what you are saying is true, I want to learn everything you can tell me about this, because I'm attached to a company that has thousands of women who value health and wellness and prevention and so on. His name was Dr. John Lee. And some of you have probably heard of his books, What Your Doctor May Not Tell You About Menopause, What Your Doctor May Not Tell You About Premenopause, and the last book he wrote was entitled What Your Doctor May Not Tell You About Breast Cancer. The first 2 chapters of that book, you guys, will blow your mind, because there's a lot of things we do not know, right? So she brought him to Arbonne, and he started teaching us on what I'm about to share with you, how the body works, how it should work and why it's not, and how are some simple solutions around that, all right? So I'm going to specifically talk for the next few minutes on the hormone piece, but I think we all are in agreement in here. I know Lindy is, and Lauren and I, because we've spent so much time talking about this, that the body works synergistically. Everything you do affects the other thing, right? And so if one little thing is off, I used to speak with a naturopathic doctor, her name is Diana Alba, and she used to do this really great demonstration around how the body works and looking at it like a bicycle wheel, right? Very round, and when it's perfect, it works perfectly. But there's spokes in the wheel, and just like your body, if one little spoke gets stressed and it breaks, it puts stress on the next spoke. And so eventually what you've got is a body that is just overcompensating for the broken spokes, and it's not working efficiently. Agreed? So, so I'm going to focus mostly on hormones, but I do want you to know that this is just one little piece of the whole picture of balance. All right, so we're women. We kind of know how the cycle's supposed to work. In a perfect world, we are supposed to be estrogen and progesterone in our system. And in our cycle, which is let's use a normal 28-day cycle, if we all started menstruating today would be day 1 of your cycle, right? And so in your body, the first 14 days while you're starting your period and throughout, you are supposed to be more estrogen dominant, all right? And then you ovulate, and then what's supposed to happen on the back half leading up to when your period starts, those 12 to 14 days there, you are supposed to be more progesterone dominant, right? It's this perfect little balance. And it's a beautiful thing, but unfortunately what happens is most people in this country get out of balance. So here's the role of estrogen in the body, you guys. Basically, estrogen is the cell growth hormone. Its role is, number 1, to develop us from little girls into women. So by age 10, 12, or whatever, we start developing breasts and our hips and so on, and we start menstruating. It also is a part of body fat and weight gain. So estrogen is mostly stored in your body fat, which is a very interesting thing, because a lot of women in this country, if they're feeling imbalanced, they will go to their doctor and they will have a blood test done, and the blood test may say to them, we think you're low in estrogen. Or if you have had a hysterectomy or you're not menstruating anymore, you no longer produce estrogen. And in this country, it's very hard for women not to produce estrogen because it's stored in our body fat. And most women in this country do not have a problem with body fat, right? So that's another myth. The other thing that estrogen does is the salt and fluid retention. It also is the precursor to depression, anxiety, and headaches. Poor sleep patterns. Anybody here have poor sleep patterns where you wake up several times in the middle of the night? Yeah. Interferes with your thyroid. This is another big thing right now in our country where people are getting diagnosed with thyroid malfunction, and a lot of times the symptoms of thyroid looks like hormonal issues. Okay. Blood sugar levels. It increases your risk of breast cancer and uterine cancer, and in men, prostate cancer. And again, this goes back to you guys understanding that estrogen is the cell growth hormone. It likes to grow. And unfortunately, when it is left out of control, meaning it's not in balance with the other things, you're leaving your body open to disease and so on. Does that make sense? All right. So progesterone, that other little hormone, does the exact opposite of pretty much everything, and it helps use your fat for energy. So if you have progesterone in the system, it's easier to lose weight. If you don't have it, your estrogen in your body is holding on to that fat because it loves it, right? So you could be dieting like crazy and exercising like crazy, but if you have no progesterone in your system, it's going to be really, really hard to lose the weight, all right? It also helps protect against breast fibroids and, again, breast cancer. And that's a pretty big claim that I'm making, but here's what I'm saying about that is, remember when I said that estrogen is self-growth hormone, right? When progesterone is balanced in the system, what it likes to do is wrap itself around those little cells, so it keeps them from growing. Does that make
The estrogen
sense?
cells? No, you're talking about
Progesterone wraps around the estrogen.
Oh, it does, around the estrogen.
Right? It acts as a natural diuretic, it acts as a natural antidepressant and calms your anxiety. It prevents cyclic migraines. Lauren and I have been talking about this a little bit with her daughter. It does help with sleep, really helps with sleep, I will first tell you that. Facilitates a normal thyroid function, helps normalize the blood sugar levels, helps restore normal libido. This is another